All right. Hey, Changemakers. It's Nikki with Revive Jewelry. And sorry for the technical difficulties on Instagram, but luckily we have lots of different types of communication devices and technology these days. So we're on Zoom. And I am with Connor Swan, who is the manager of Leadership Gifts and Heroes program for the Cure Alzheimer's Fund. And we're talking with him today because this month is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. And we are partnering with them because we've done a special launch of the Power Hoop earrings, which I'm wearing, to raise money for their charity. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Connor, and you can tell us a little bit about what you do for Cure Alzheimer's Fund and what your guys' mission is there.
Absolutely. So first of all, Nikki, thank you so much for doing all of this. We're so thrilled to be partnering with Revive Jewelry as your charity of the month this month. So my role at Cure Alzheimer's Fund, I work with our heroes like yourself. That's what we call our third-party fundraisers, our percentage of sales, our runners, our walkers, all of that type of fundraising, as well as more one-to-one donor fundraising. So I'm thrilled to be here, and I can't wait to tell everyone about Cure Alzheimer's Fund. So as you might have guessed from our name, our mission is to fund research with the highest probability of preventing, slowing, or reversing Alzheimer's disease. And we're actually founded back in 2004 by three families frustrated by the slow pace of Alzheimer's research. And at the time, it was really stifled by a lack of funding. So pharmaceutical companies were too wary of past drug failures to fund new drug development, and other larger funders were just not encouraging researchers to really think big and bold with their ideas. They were, in a way, rewarding incrementalism that wasn't really taking much risk with Alzheimer's research. So it was really sort of creeping along. And that's where we came in. So our founders designed our organization with three goals in mind: to dramatically accelerate the pace of research, to give the best minds in the field the opportunity to get their exciting, high-risk, high-reward projects up off the ground, and to focus all of our time and energy on finding a cure. Now, of course, it's all well and good, but we can only be as good as the researchers that we fund. So to that end, we put together our research leadership group, which is an all-star team of about 34 scientists from different world-class institutions across the globe, which not only pursue their own projects, but also help to guide our research, identifying those underserved areas of Alzheimer's research where our dollars will have the greatest impact. And to date, I'm thrilled to say that we've actually funded over $110 million in grants. And I would be remiss if I went any further without mentioning that our board of directors actually covers all of our overhead expenses, so that 100% of all donations, every single penny, is able to go directly to Alzheimer's research. It's an outstanding commitment that we are incredibly grateful for and very proud of. And I'd be lying if I said it didn't make my job as a fundraiser just a little bit easier as well.
Yeah, I love that about you guys. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to partner with you for this specific cause, because it's rare to find a charity where 100% of the donations go right back into that research for a cure, which is what you guys do. So I'm super honored to be partnering with you. And I just love the work that you guys are doing. And it's been so great. Everybody who I have talked to at the Cure Alzheimer's Fund is also just amazing to work with. So you guys are just really good people doing really good things. So it's my honor too. So, you know, I think a lot of us have heard of Alzheimer's and dementia. Can you tell us a little bit about what is the difference between the two?
Absolutely. And I think that's a great question to raise, because so often it does feel like Alzheimer's and dementia are really synonymous, when in fact that's not always the case. So dementia on its own is the deterioration of cognitive function, right? So a person's memory, their thinking, their ability to comprehend, etc. And it's beyond what you might expect from the normal aging process. We all expect a little deterioration in that as we grow older, but this is far beyond that. Now, if you're thinking that sounds a lot like what Alzheimer's is, well, you're not wrong, because Alzheimer's is in fact a form of dementia. In fact, it's the most common form, actually. It makes up about 70% of dementia cases worldwide. So some of the other forms people might have heard of include Lewy body and vascular dementia. And while there are some differences between the forms, there are also quite a few similarities as well, which can sometimes make it difficult to distinguish between the different forms. And in fact, in some patients, people can have multiple types of dementia at once. So it's a long way of saying dementia is a nice umbrella term, and Alzheimer's is just far and away the most common type of dementia.
Okay, wow. All right. Well, thank you for explaining that, because I don't know that I even really knew that. So thank you for clearing all of that up. And, you said that you guys have been doing what you're doing since 2004, which is amazing. So can you tell us a little bit of some of the successes that you guys have had in funding research and those kinds of things?
Absolutely, I'd love to. So in our just over 15 years now, we've funded nearly 500 grants, and we have a good amount of success stories I'm proud to share. And one of the ones that we can point to is actually one of, if not our very first project, which was the Alzheimer's Genome Project.
Mm-hmm.
So this was funded back in 2005, and it was actually the very first large-scale family-based study of the human genome as it relates to Alzheimer's disease. So before this project, we only knew about a handful of genes that were considered to be related to Alzheimer's in some way, shape, or form. But what this project did was actually identify over 100 new genes, or genes that were related to Alzheimer's, that we didn't know about before, that have some impact on Alzheimer's risk, either positive or negative. They could increase your risk factor or decrease it. This was a big moment for the field. It allowed us to see a much bigger picture of some of the genetic drivers behind the disease. And we've been able to use these findings from this first ever project as guideposts of sort, really sort of guiding where we go with a lot of very innovative projects since then, looking at Alzheimer's in a new light. A second success story of ours, we had an idea that I don't think would have been funded without Cure Alzheimer's Fund, and really speaks to our role in getting big ideas up and running. So this one comes from the lab of the sadly late Dr. Rob Moyer. But in the brain, there's this protein called beta amyloid, which forms a plaque on the brains of Alzheimer's patients, along with another substance called tangles. These plaques and tangles are sort of the hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease. So the prevailing wisdom at the time was that this plaque is just junk in the brain that will need to be removed if we are to treat Alzheimer's disease. But Rob actually took a different approach. He believed that this protein actually played a protective role in the brain, protecting the brain from infection, and that it's actually only when the brain is overproducing this plaque that the brain gets damaged, leading to Alzheimer's. So the key would not to be remove all of this plaque, which would leave the brain vulnerable, but to just sort of moderate exactly how much plaque there is on the brain. So this idea was so far afield from conventional wisdom that Rob actually had a difficult time getting backing from larger organizations like the National Institutes of Health. But that's what sort of made a perfect project for Cure Alzheimer's Fund. We want to get those out-of-the-box ideas up and off the ground and encourage researchers to pursue their bold ideas, provided, of course, they're backed in strong science. And that's exactly what we did here by funding this project. There's still some debate about Rob's theory, but the results of the project were promising enough that he did eventually get funding from some of the larger, more reserved organizations. And there's even a couple of well-known experimental drugs out there that are based on his principle. So it's changed the way that many people view a core tenet of the disease. And it's really altering both the big picture and the direction of Alzheimer's research. And it wouldn't have gotten off the ground nearly as soon as it did without our help. And one last great success, if I could sneak in one more, because there's so much to brag about that it's tough to keep me from going on. But it's actually one of my favorites. It's called Alzheimer's in a Dish. So this came from two of our funded researchers over at Massachusetts General Hospital. And what's cool about this one is they were actually able to replicate the human brain inside of a petri dish. And then in that petri dish, show the progression of Alzheimer's disease as though it was an actual person. So this one had a lot of practical benefit. It helped to speed up the timelines of a lot of projects by being able to see how it would react in a human brain. And it also allowed our researchers to test existing drugs in the dish to see what impact, if any, these drugs would have on Alzheimer's. So if an existing, already FDA-approved drug was shown to be effective against Alzheimer's, it would be able to get to market much more quickly than if we have to go back and build a brand new drug from scratch, since it has to undergo a very intense review process that can last years. And even better, this technology is made available to all researchers, regardless of whether or not we fund them. And just a fun aside, it also got the lead researcher, Dr. Rudy Tanzi, who's also the chair of our research leadership group, recognized in Times Magazine that year as one of their 100 most influential people. So that's always a fun little anecdote to share as well.
Yeah, that's so awesome. That is all so amazing and fascinating, and growing a brain in a petri dish, like that's that is definitely
fascinating stuff.
Yeah. Wow. So that is amazing. And I'm so glad that we can help fund that kind of research, because I am definitely not scientific in that way. So I am glad that I can help other people who are scientific do that research. So that's awesome. So, I know that there are a few things that contribute to whether or not you will get Alzheimer's, but there are some certain things that we can do each day or weekly, that we can help prevent ourselves from getting Alzheimer's. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those things?
Yeah, I'd love to. So first off, just at the top, I have to say that nothing I'm about to say is guaranteed to prevent Alzheimer's, but these are some great tips to improve your brain health, to really just sort of help your chances. So once again, we're going to go back to our research leadership group chair, Rudy Tanzi, who has his SHIELD model to improve brain health and mental health, which with each letter representing a different aspect of what you're supposed to do. So first up is sleep, something nobody ever seems to get enough of. And the old guideline of, at least 8 hours a night still holds true. So while you're asleep, that's your brain's opportunity to rest and clean itself of some of the excess junk that's built up on your brain while you're awake. So try to, as much you can, do yourself a favor and get that nice full night's sleep that nobody ever seems to get. Second is handle your stress. So reducing your stress helps your entire body, but especially your mental health. Of course, it's not possible to be relaxed at every hour of the day. We all have deadlines hanging over us, but it's important to try to set aside sometimes, even just 5 minutes, to close your eyes, calm your mind, center yourself, and just relax. Next up is interacting with others. Now, this, of course, can be tough given the current global situation, but loneliness can lead to additional stress in your life, and some studies have shown it to be a risk factor for Alzheimer's. So do your best to stay in touch with family and friends. It doesn't have to be in person either. Phone calls, Zoom calls, these are all perfectly acceptable substitutions. You just need to find the time to interact with somebody. And fourth is exercise. Now, personally, I would love to say that watching Netflix all day will help your brain health, but sadly, I am told you do need to get up and move. This doesn't mean having to spend all of your time becoming a true gym warrior. It can just be you take a nice long walk where you might break a light sweat, trying to do it a couple times a week. That is all the exercise you need, though. If you want to do more, of course, go to it. And fifth is learn new things. So challenge yourself by picking up a new hobby, learning a new skill, watching an interview about Alzheimer's, anything that keeps your brain, making new synaptic connections. It's very important to keep learning new things. And finally, there is diet. So studies have pointed to the Mediterranean diet as one that's particularly effective at increasing your brain health. That's a lot of fruit, nuts, fish, healthy oils, and cutting back on red meat. Now, the one other piece that I always like to sneak in here is that though these studies should be taken with a grain of salt, there's also 2 studies that show that red wine and dark chocolate help your brain health. So that's always seems to be a popular one as well. So again,
that's definitely
I'm
my
guaranteed to prevent all. Oh yeah, far and away.
I'm always like, oh yeah, that's red wine. It's good for my brain.
Absolutely, yes.
But
it's the best thing for you to do.
In moderation.
But, of course, that's key.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing those tips. I think that those are all pretty attainable things that we can just kind of remember to keep doing. So that's really great to know about those. And since some people who are watching may be caregivers or family members or actually maybe Alzheimer's patients themselves, do you guys offer any resources or have any recommendations for them?
So it's a great question. And frankly, there are a lot of wonderful organizations out there that are doing an incredible job of helping patients and their loved ones and their families go through the incredibly stressful and trying process of watching a loved one go through Alzheimer's or going through it yourself. But it's really not our focus. This type of support is incredibly important, but we really want to devote 100% of our time and energy to funding Alzheimer's research that will bring us closer to a cure. There are times when we partner with organizations that are care related. For anyone in New York, I highly recommend Care and Kind. But we want to focus on what we do best, which is research. And we're hoping to bring about a world where care organizations, and for that matter, research organizations, are obsolete because we're in a world without Alzheimer's.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And I think that the work that you guys are doing funding the research is what is so necessary. And like you said, that there are lots of other easy to find places with resources and charities that are offering resources to patients. So
Absolutely. And they're all over the country. So there's almost guaranteed to be one in your area.
yes. So Google searches, I think, are probably good for that, right?
Always.
Okay, and then can you just give us some ways that we can help besides with Revive Jewelry and besides what we're doing here? Are there any ways that we can get involved to make a difference in this cause?
Absolutely. So first one, just to get it out of the way, is of course to donate. Well, there is so much more national attention being directed to Alzheimer's. The problem remains that we still do have more brilliant ideas for projects than money to support them. We're in the difficult position at Cure Alzheimer's Fund of being forced to turn down some potentially great ideas or push them down the road because money, as we all know, is not unlimited. So I'd of course put out the ask to everyone listening to donate, be it through our website, curealz.org, marking us as your dedicated charity on Amazon Smile, put on a Facebook birthday fundraiser, buying some cell-based jewelry from Revive Jewelry, of course. Or contacting me at Cure Alzheimer's Fund to put on your own fundraiser, do something like that. But we, of course, understand not everyone can give right now. So just help us raise awareness. Share what a cure for Alzheimer's would mean to you on social media. Follow us on our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, and really just do what you can to spread the word about how critical of a need we have for Alzheimer's research in this country. It's an important cause, and if you raise awareness, you are making a big difference.
Yeah, that's awesome. So those are all pretty easy things to do. I think, you know, if you can donate at curealz.org. If you cannot donate, you can't afford it right now, that's not a big deal, but help spread awareness and follow them on Instagram at Cure Alzheimer's, follow them, like their Facebook page, follow them on Twitter. All those things are super easy to do and they don't cost you any money. And you can even do some posts about, you know, Alzheimer's and Alzheimer's awareness, especially this month. You can hashtag, you know, Alzheimer's awareness because this month it's everybody's sharing information. And so I think those are really great tips. And thank you so much for sharing them with us. Before we wrap it up, is there any last thoughts that you have for everybody?
Well, yeah, absolutely. So I would also offer if anyone has any questions about what they've heard here today, or just want to reach out to talk about a fundraising idea they had, or just to talk in general. I'm a pretty talkative guy. You're welcome to reach me at my email address for Cure Alzheimer's Fund, which is Swan, like the bird, at curealz.org. And Nikki, thank you so much for having us again. We are so thrilled to be partnering with you this month. And we could not accomplish our goal of a world without Alzheimer's without people and organizations like you. So thank you really so much.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate your time today. And thank you so much for talking to my community. And again, if you guys want to check out Cure Alz, it's curealz.org. That is their website. And then you can follow them on Instagram, where you're probably watching this with this video, at Cure Alzheimer's. And if you're not following me already, you can follow me at Revive Jewelry. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today and take care. Thanks, Connor.
Thank you.